So now we're just hours away before Hurricane Melissa make landfall in Jamaica, and what we're seeing now is the latest address from the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, addressing the nation and getting the nation ready for the impact of Hurricane Melissa. And I think that this could be the final address to the nation before the hurricane hit, and we probably won't see the Prime Minister again addressing the nation for a few days after the hurricane. So this is the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew
Fellow
Holness.
Jamaicans, Hurricane Melissa is now a Category 4 hurricane. Approximately 100 miles south of Kingston, heading westward at 5 miles per hour, it is projected to turn northward. We are already experiencing rain and overcast conditions. Based on current assessments, all of Jamaica will likely be affected by hurricane conditions, meaning heavy rains and winds above 100 miles per hour. It is also likely that hurricane conditions could linger over Jamaica due to the slow-moving nature of this system. Given the extended days of rains leading up to landfall and the expected inundation from the actual passage, we can expect general flash floodings across the island. However, low-lying areas, coastal areas, river courses, gullies, and other waterways will overflow either from excess rain or storm surges. Extended rainfall and heavy rainflows will also trigger landslides in hilly areas. Buildings and activities in or along those waterways or hillsides will be at high risk of damage, complete displacement, and loss of life. Hurricane winds will most certainly damage roofs and compromise some structures. By all assessments of the current situation, while we pray for the best, hour by hour, it is becoming apparent that the impact of Hurricane Melissa could be greater than Hurricane Beryl, certainly in terms of rainfall and flooding. We can lessen damage and speed up recovery by taking preparatory and precautionary measures before the impact of the hurricane. It is expected that Hurricane Melissa will make landfall on Tuesday. I take this opportunity to reinforce the appeal to residents of low-lying areas, historically flood-prone areas, gully banks, riverbanks, hillsides, and other vulnerable areas to take precautions to protect your property where possible, prepare your evacuation plan, and comply with the evacuation orders given. Avoid unnecessary risks such as playing in floodwaters and waterways, climbing trees and roofs during the hurricane, shelter in place, stay inside during the hurricane. We have issued an order under the Disaster Risk Management Act declaring the entire island of Jamaica a threatened area. This provides us with the legal framework to take all necessary measures to safeguard lives and property during the hurricane. All our national agencies, ODPEM, the JDF, the JCF, the NWA, and our first responders are on high alert. Shelters have been prepared, supplies pre-positioned, and emergency teams are standing by across the island. At the time of impact, the government will declare a disaster under the DRMA, along with the various other measures necessary from time to time to take us safely through the periods of disaster, relief, and recovery. Today, I signed a compulsory evacuation order for several communities along the South Coast, which will empower ODPEM to act as necessary to have persons evacuated from high-risk areas to save lives. We have also issued an order under the Trade Act to prevent price gouging. No one should seek to profit from the hardship of a disaster. The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining will be issuing a recommended price list for all market produce. We have intensified our drain cleaning and mitigation programs across the island, targeting critical areas that are most vulnerable to flooding. Over 400 million Jamaican dollars has so far been allocated for drain cleaning and waterway cleanup, including at least $3 million to each constituency to carry out emergency drain cleaning and local preparedness. In addition to preparing the country for the impact of the hurricane, we are also taking steps to position ourselves for the recovery following impact. The security forces will ensure there is no break in public order during and after the hurricane. We will take all steps under the law to protect life and property from looting and other antisocial behavior. We urge all citizens to maintain the peace, observe the laws and various orders that may be issued, and act wisely in limiting movement and gatherings to what is necessary. Your government has built out a comprehensive multi-layered disaster risk financing framework to ensure that we can respond quickly and effectively. We have the National Natural Disaster Risk Fund and the Contingency Fund, which we will use to start the relief and recovery process. Beyond these, there are additional layers of insurance protection that are triggered once specific impact thresholds are met, along with contingent credit facilities. The NWA, JDF, NSWMA, local governments, and our utilities are all prepared to reopen roads, restore access, and reinstate service to ensure a quick recovery. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security, supported by the JDF, is fully prepared to lead the humanitarian relief effort and the data gathering for damage assessment. Please play your part in having your identification and other documentation ready if you have to apply or register for relief. The Ministry of Agriculture is ready to offer support to our farmers and fishers to ensure that they are back out in the field as soon as possible. The Ministry of Health is making plans for major mosquito and other vector control initiatives immediately after the hurricane to avoid outbreaks of diseases, especially dengue. I want to take this moment to recognize our frontline workers, our healthcare professionals, police officers, soldiers, firefighters, utility crews, and all essential personnel who will be out there risking their lives to protect ours and to serve us. With proper preparation, discipline, and care for one another, we will come through this safely, as we have done so many times before. And let us remember, it is in times like these that Jamaica's true character shines through. Reach out to your neighbor, check on the elderly, check on persons with disabilities, and anyone who may need help. That is who we are, a people who live by the principle, each one help one. While we must prepare for the worst, let us also pray for the best. In every adversity, we have found strength, not only in our resilience, but in the power of prayer. So wherever you are, I encourage you to gather your family and pray for protection, for calm, and for each other, trusting that God, who has seen Jamaica through every storm, will carry us safely through this one too. My Jamaican family, we will weather this storm, and when the sky is clear, we will come together to restore and build stronger, prouder, and more resilient than before. Keep safe, everyone. May God bless you, protect your families, and keep safe our beloved Jamaica land we love.
The questions that we've been getting a lot is, at what point when the hurricane makes landfall will you decide to turn off the entire grid?
It would be a moment in time decision based on the grid impact and based on the need to then put in place our plans to facilitate safe and timely restoration. We are prepared to do all that we can to the best capabilities to safely keep the grid up and running to serve the load. With that being said, however, in parallel with that, we also have plans to say potentially island the grid. What does that look like? So say you have a case whereby you have significant faults and significant impact based on the devastation on the grid by this category 4 or 5 system in the corporate area. We are also prepared to potentially island, but we'll separate the corporate area from, say, Montego Bay, and you have the grid operating in 2 separate islands, whereby at one point you may have to shut down one particular area, you leave one up. But what that does is, once there is an opportunity to restore, it leads to a safer and more timely restoration. So, to sum it up, we are prepared based on the changing conditions to make that decision. We don't want to have an unstable grid that can be in oscillation and then that can have a cascading effect. We are prepared to island the grid to allow stable service. In all cases, however, the focus is on the safety and the stability of the grid to reliably serve our customers. I'll just add one thing. Another factor that could inform that is the significant storm surges. We just heard that we're expecting storm surges of over 17 feet at some of our generating stations. Generating stations online right now are being supplied by alternate diesel oil and heavy fuel oil. If it's a case where the storm surges of such that it supersedes the levels of our generators, that may also be reason to shut down, because then you won't have the generation available. We have taken significant steps in items such as mobile high velocity pumps, sandbags, ensure drains are cleared to facilitate our generating stations being online. Right now, to give you a feel of our generation mix, we are, in terms of renewables, we are curtailed more than 99%. So of the 150 megawatts of renewables that we have on our system, 100 megawatt wind, 50 megawatt solar, we're only getting approximately 1 megawatt due to cloud cover and due to the need to lock out wind turbines for safety reasons. So we can't depend on renewables right now. We also do not have our liquefied natural gas facilities, as they have had to demobilize for safety reasons based on the Port Authority and the Harbour Master, so that vessel is gone. So we're now burning alternate diesel oil and heavy fuel oil to serve our load of approximately 550 megawatts. But we do have a reserve margin, as we have been prepared for this. Our storage levels are there. We have a reserve margin of approximately 18%. So we still stand ready with some flexibility to serve.
Hurricane so much reminds me of Hurricane Gilbert, because Hurricane Gilbert was also in the night. And when you have a hurricane in the night, it's one of the worst things, because nobody is going to sleep at night with the hurricane. It's impossible to sleep. So we hope that all Jamaicans take heed and leave low-lying areas. And because a lot of times we have seen in the past, based on my experience, most of the death, whether from Hurricane Gilbert or from Hurricane Ivan, most of the deaths were deaths that could have been avoided. People wanting to stay home to save their property. But you can always rebuild. So I'm really hoping that all Jamaicans leave and go to shelter, because the shelters are more safe. The shelters, people don't die in those shelters. So I'm hoping that people take heed to that, and instead of trying to save their earthly possession and losing their life, that is not worth it. And then for Jamaicans and friends of Jamaicans in the diaspora, the support is going to be needed, especially if this turns out to be a Category 5. And what we'll do here at Carib 21, we'll try and do the same thing that we did last year when Hurricane Beryl hit St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we'll try and provide links to credible sources in Canada, in America, that they're doing donation, that they're accepting relief fund or donation, or where you can drop off non-perishable items to send to Jamaica after the hurricane. And I know the same thing with St. Vincent and the Grenadines last year, when the Prime Minister made it duty-free for goods for goods to go into St. Vincent. I believe that the same thing will be done. So we can start preparing from now in terms of non-perishable item, buying stuff whether at Walmart or wherever we can find sale across North America, preparing stuff so that after the aftermath of this hurricane, that we can, whether we're going to pack barrels and send to Jamaica on our own, or we are going to buy our goods and we're going to drop it off at whether it's the Jamaican Association in your area, whether it's the Canadian Jamaican Association, or whether it's like a New York chapter or a Miami. They're all over North America. So Jamaicans and friends of Jamaicans, as I said, what I'll be doing is trying to provide links. And if anyone out there that from one of the association, whether you're in Florida, you're in Atlanta, you're in New York, and you are spearheading efforts, you can contact us at Carib 21, and we will provide a link so that Jamaicans and friends of Jamaicans can support the recovery effort. Now we're just bracing for the impact and hope that lives are saved and people are not out there trying to save their property and losing their lives. But after, it is going to be very important, and Jamaicans and friends of Jamaicans in the diaspora, we are going to have to step up to help Jamaica to recover from this disaster. So guys, keep the connection, and as I said, I will provide any link of assistance to Jamaica in the days ahead or weeks or months ahead, however long it takes to recover from this devastating disaster, which is Hurricane Melissa. So guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.